Calling to order the City of Ojai Arts Commission meeting of June 17th, 2021. And Mr. Gomez, can you take roll call?
Of course. Commissioner West?
Present.
Commissioner Steiner? Here. Chair Toscher?
Here.
Commissioner Gerber?
Here.
Commissioner St. James Lopez?
Here.
Commissioner Golden?
Here.
And Commissioner Chisholm, I don't see him at the moment. And Chair Toscher?
Yes. Thank you. We are going to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Gomez, can you lead us in the
Of
pledge?
course. Well, I'll stand, right hand over the heart, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have the minutes of the May 27, 2021 meeting on our consent
Yep.
item for approval.
Chair Toscher, I apologize for public comments. Just wanted to note that we did not receive any public comments.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
So as I was saying, that we've got on the consent item approval of the minutes of the May 27, 2021 meeting.
I have one correction to the minutes before
Sure.
we have it on consent. It's a very minor correction, and it is...
You can't hear her? Speak up. Push the button. Push the button.
First, I should let you all know. This is my first meeting, so I don't yet know how the microphone works. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good. Okay. It's a very brief correction under F1 of 4. So I'm on page 3 at the very top, and that addresses the municipal collection. The piece is called Swimmingly, SWIMMINGLY, but the other more important change I'd like to make is on the 4th line down, it said that it had been taken to a local vendor. I just would like to clarify that it was taken to a fine art framer so that it doesn't appear that we just took it anywhere.
Received, thank you.
Are there any other corrections, changes, additions to the minutes? All right, would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I so move.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, perfect. We'll do a quick roll call. Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Steiner?
Here.
Commissioner Golden?
Yes.
Chair Toscher?
Yes.
Commissioner St. James Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner Gerber?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. The next item to discuss is our budget request, which it was submitted to City Council as approved. And Luis, do you have any updates for us on the status of our request?
Sure. During the last City Council meeting, Council received a draft budget. They will be reviewing the final version of that budget at the June 22nd meeting. After that time, I'm happy to go ahead and share an update with the Commission whether it was approved. From my understanding, there was no initial concerns with the Commission's request.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Moving along.
Chair Toscher?
Yes.
Is it possible that we could get a copy of that budget that went to city?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can go ahead and
Just send
that.
it out, email it out? Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
I can share that with the Commission.
All right, and Chair of the Municipal Collection, Christine Steiner, do you want to update everyone about our potential acquisitions?
Yes, oh, how great. I didn't know I got to do that so quickly. I am delighted to report that we would like to present you with what I can only characterize as an abundance of riches. So thank you. Last meeting, you reallocated money into the acquisitions fund, giving us just slightly over $2,500 for acquisitions. We, the committee, that is Marcy Tasher, Christine Golden, and I, went to the museum primarily to look at the work of Joe Sohm. There's currently an exhibition of Ojai photographers. I have to breathe. And so we, as you know, you nominated Joe Sohm for Lifetime Achievement recognition, and we were keen on acquiring a work. When there, we also looked at work of two other artists who were in the exhibition, Cindy Pittow Burton and Donna Granada, both of whom have been on the list for possible acquisitions. And so we're pleased to report, and it's in your packet, that we are recommending the acquisition of two Joe Sohm photographs. Louise, can we get those up?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's start with the Sohms and then we'll move on. So first, here's the sailors waving the flags. It's just the most jubilant, charming photograph. So we recommend that. The price of that is $250. Joe Sohm is a documentary photographer. He primarily sells his works as stock photographs, which is why the pricing is quite reasonable for us. The second, which is now on the screen, is just a lovely arcade shot of a 4th of July parade with the vintage cars. This is a nice shot. It gets the whole roof line of the arcade and the entire length. We recommend that. The 4th of July parade, which, as we all know, we missed last year, is coming back this year and is an iconic part of Ojai, and we're simply delighted to have this in the collection. The third work is by Donna Granada, who largely does photographic portraiture. This is a portrait of Harold Bristol, and of course, you know, we have those works in the collection, and so we recommend that the Horace Bristol portrait be acquired as well. That pricing is slightly different because tax is added, but that's in your materials. And then the fourth is a simply lovely and again Ojai characteristic Matilaha Poppy by Cindy Burton, and we recommend that this lovely image be acquired as well. This is 5 of 5. It's a limited edition. And 1 of 1 we saw in the museum that had already been acquired, and so we decided that it would be quite good to bookend it by acquiring the 5th of that series. So that's the report. We're open to questions. One point I'd like to emphasize is that we don't take lightly acquisitions, so we recognize that this is quite a number to acquire 4 at one time. We're obligated to conserve the works, to store the works, to keep them in good order and on display when appropriate. But with the budget, with the fact that the exhibition of photographers was currently at the museum, and with the opportunity to acquire works by these 3 living photographers, we, the committee, thought this was the way to go. Any questions?
Great, okay, thank you, Christine.
I'll just make a comment in here, being also on this committee. 2 comments. One, Christine Steiner has agreed, this is for you to know, Luis, to be the sole chair of this committee. So in the future, you can just put her name there, which I'm just so happy to have her willingness to take over, especially with her background and her expertise. So I wanted to say that. And I also wanted to say that when we went up and visited Joe Sohm, just for all of you to know, we saw hundreds and hundreds of his photographs, including films that he made of his photographs with some very famous people doing the narration, like Clint Eastwood, people like that.
And
he
music.
is so prolific. He is really something else. And it was such a pleasure to spend time on bringing back these 4 acquisitions to all of you. So I just applaud Marcy and Christine for what they did, because they were the final deciders on this. I knew that it would be really good, and it is.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the acquisitions as presented.
So move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, perfect. With
Any
that, we'll go ahead.
discussion? Comments, discussion? No? Okay, roll call.
Perfect. Commissioner St. James Lopez? Commissioner Golden?
Yes.
Chair Tosher?
Yes?
Commissioner Steiner?
Yes.
Commissioner West?
Yes.
Commissioner Gerber?
Yes.
Perfect. Motion passes.
Clarification,
Yep.
excuse me. Was that a yes, or did you say here, Eric?
Yes or here, but I meant yes.
Okay, it's a yes. It's a yes, just want to be clear. Thank you. Thank you.
Chair Tusher?
Here, yes.
I have a question. I believe there's some dollars and cents left over from that money, and I would like to suggest that that be put aside to have Roger Conrad make the labels, as he has just made labels. We realized that one of them was not made, but I think there's probably enough money there for him to make labels for these new pieces,
So that would
as
be
well as the
5
one
labels.
that...
5 labels.
Is that something that we have to vote on, or, because it's allocated for this
Right,
purpose?
not necessarily, and I can go ahead and share the exact amount that would
Okay.
be
And,
be
yeah,
allocated.
and if
Yeah,
you
it would
could
be-
email me what that amount is, that would be really helpful.
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
because I'll take it from there with Roger.
Yeah,
Okay, great, thanks.
thank you. Okay, we're moving along.
And if I may, I just wanted to go ahead and
Yeah.
note that Commissioner Chisholm joined us
Oh.
as well. So he's joining us via Zoom.
Ola. Ola. Where is he? Oh, you can see him, we can't, huh?
Commissioner Chisholm?
Hola. I'm actually struggling to see. The internet connection doesn't seem good. I can only see Robin right now.
Oh, he can't see us. Okay, we can see you now.
I
There
move
you
that you
go.
get a haircut.
I can see.
Can you hear me, Nigel? Can you hear me? I don't know if he can hear me.
I think it may be based on his location with the internet connection.
He needs to hear us. At least he needs to hear us, right?
Me okay? Yes, I can. Can you hear?
Great, great.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect, perfect. The next item on the agenda relates to grants, and this was going to be,
No, I'm sorry, you skipped an agenda item.
oh my God, Public Art Committee report. I'm sorry, Christine.
Public Art Committee report. The Public Art Committee, and this may be the first time in history, has no report.
Wow. Put an asterisk next to the minutes for this
I
one.
really didn't want that to get skipped, because that's never happened before.
That's why I skipped you. I think I knew that you weren't going to report anything.
We're working behind the scenes, but we don't have a report.
Okay, all right. Now, we'll talk about grants, and this is the official kickoff for the 2022 grants season. I was hoping that everyone would have received their new handbook, Commissioner Handbook, because all of the documents are, well, in addition to being in the packet, they're in the handbook. But, and then Nigel's there. I don't think I'm sure he didn't pack the Commissioner's Handbook with him, but you should have the digital version of the grant documents, and Robin, you should have the digital version of the grant documents in your packet. So, brief introduction. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because we'll be revisiting this in subsequent commission meetings. And you can read through this on your own. It's pretty self-explanatory. These documents have been refined and revised over the years initially created by Christine Golden when she was chair of the Grants Committee. And I'm now chair of the Grants Committee, and little by little, we've made improvements.
And Roger Conrad had a lot to do
Roger
with that,
Conrad.
yeah.
Okay, great. So little by little, we've encountered situations that we didn't have before, and we've made clarifications and additional requirements and all of that. For example, we have a new mural ordinance. Coincidentally, one of the grants we awarded for this year was to a group headed by others, including Ray Powers, and it was a mural that's on the side of Chaparral, or the preschool. And at the time, there wasn't a grants mural, so he applied for the grant, and we awarded the grant, and that turned out to be really a fantastic mural. Now, if someone wants to apply for a grant, wants to do a mural with the money, they have to also go through the mural process, and we are requiring that they attach a copy of what they're going to submit to the city in terms of the mural approval paperwork. And then the mural, if we like the grant, think it's worthy of receiving funding, we will then tell them, hurry right up and submit your application for a mural, and the city has to approve it. It has to go through the process through the city, and the funding of their mural grant will be contingent upon the city approving the mural. So that's a big change for this year. There's a calendar in your paperwork. One correction: the date for the submission, the due date, is actually Friday, September 3rd, not September 6th. September 3rd. It's correct on the calendar, but it's not correct on the actual application. Now, when someone wants a grant,
Six.
it's the 3rd. The 3rd is the correct date.
What was the correct date?
Third.
September 3rd.
Okay, thank you.
Now, there are two situations where a grant can be submitted. An individual artist can submit a grant if they associate themselves and get a 501c3 that's agrees to become their fiscal receiver. And that's happened in the past, not frequently. We usually have 501c3s as an organization that's a 501c3 apply for a grant, in which case they're their own fiscal receiver. But in certain instances, they might want to associate with another 501c3, and they can do that. The key is that we have to verify the status of the 501c3, and we have to see an agreement, a signed agreement between the parties, so that we know that the fiscal receiver is in good standing and has agreed to be the fiscal receiver for the project. Something new this year is our very specific directions to all of the commissioners. Once the applications are received, they will be sorted through and distributed. Depending on how many we receive, each commissioner will get one, possibly two applications to kind of be the liaison for that grant, between the grant writer and the city. So there are certain things, certain protocols to follow, so you know how your role is limited and how we envision your role as the liaison for the particular grant. And if you want to turn to page, what page is that, Luis, in the packet?
It's page 1 of 12.
1 of 12.
For the arts grant program.
The instructions to the commissioners,
Correct.
1 of 12? Okay, sorry.
No, I saw it in there.
Okay, here we go. Okay. All right. Well, these are the tasks for the grant committee: review and revise the application and guidelines. We will give public relations information so they can compose and distribute press releases and create content for the website. As I just mentioned, that I'll appoint each of the commissioners for a grant to kind of oversee the grant. And then I will orient you, which is what I'm about to do, if you could find that list, Luis, on your responsibilities and the limitations of what you are to do. The Grants Committee, we track notification of the grant recipients. And then there's a beautiful binder that actually Luis has been keeping of previous recipients and the documentation of their grant project, and also what's required now. It's been required for a few years. One of the things we added in is a summary report where we ask specific questions and they respond with a description of what we're asking, the kinds of information we're asking for.
What's the next page?
Yep. I was going to say, it's page,
And then finally,
It's this page.
maintain a binaural grant. Yep, that's it.
Two of
Okay, the
12.
next page. So, when you receive a grant, guard it with your life. Review it thoroughly and make sure, go through it. There's a checklist on the front of all the additional documents that are required. Make sure they've all been checked off and that they're there. There aren't any missing documents. You can't alter the grant. You can't say, oops, they made a mistake. There's an error in math. They forgot to do this or do that, or that's not enough money. They should ask for more. Whatever. You can't make those changes. This is the grant as submitted. What you can do is call the grant writer and tell them that there are certain things missing. Can you provide them? Or be prepared to answer questions about them. Also, you should call them just to introduce yourself anyway and tell them that you're their contact for the city, and if they have any questions, to contact you, to call you, but you're introducing yourself. Then you're going to tell them about the key dates, the key dates, because we do want them to come in and talk to us so we can ask questions. So that's that. Check the math. We've had mistakes before with math. Make sure they indicate the amount of their matching funds and a list of the source of their matching funds. In-kind matching funds are acceptable in kind. So if someone is donating their labor to help with the performance of the project, that you figure out what the fair market value of that labor would be, and you include that as an in-kind contribution. They'll present, it's not mandatory, but we really, really want to encourage them to come in October to do an oral presentation where they can explain things more in greater detail, and they can answer our questions, more importantly. All of the commissioners, no matter who's responsible for that particular grant applicant, we are all able to ask questions. Also, sometimes they submit, as part of their materials, a portfolio or a video or a CD or whatever. So we only require they submit one, not a copy for each of us. So that can be presented too at the time. Okay, so you're not advocating, you're not advocate for the grant. You're not an advocate. You're just a facilitator for the grant. So that's really important to keep it in mind. You can't promise them that, oh, wow, this is such a great idea. You're going to get funded for sure. You can't promise anything like that. We don't know. We don't know, and how much will be granted, we don't know. It depends on how many applicants there are, how much money has been set aside for the grant program. So it's all in flux. Nothing can be guaranteed. And we can't indicate how we think various commissioners will vote on their particular grant. If there's a grant that comes up that's written by an organization that you have an involvement with, like for instance, Eric with the Townies, you'll have to recuse yourself during the deliberations affecting the Townies. Right. And and any other organization that anyone has any connection with, they'd have to recuse themselves from the discussion. So, that's it in a nutshell, and when you have a chance, read through all of the documents and email me if you have any questions or you have any suggestions to improve the forms or the explanations or whatever. Pay particular attention to the calendar. That will determine everything, particularly the PR committee. Please note the dates for PR. Are there any questions? No? Okay. Okay, well, there'll be other opportunities to ask questions. And as I said, you can email me if you have questions.
I feel like I have like 4 questions, but I think I'll
Sure.
email you probably most of them.
Unless you think it's something everyone wants to know.
Yeah. Well, I guess I do want to pose a question which I don't have like an answer to,
Okay.
but kind of maybe just have us think about it for next time maybe. But I was looking at the mission of the Arts Grants Program, and there's one of the points in it was promoting diversity in Ojai's cultural life. So I wanted to see how have we been doing that? How do we accomplish that task?
Well, I think we've had a really varied slate of grant applicants, and from different genres of art and all of that. But I think, are you talking about different populations? Are you talking?
I guess I assume that's what that point meant, but I also am wondering. I'm just wondering more about that point. 'Cause
Well,
I
you know
imagine
what-
it might also means genres of artwork.
Yeah, I think we've been pretty successful in attracting applicants from all different genres of artwork. But, Mr. PR, this could be, you could have special ways to reach out where you know that, for instance, maybe younger demographic, or, you're able to do things in Spanish too. So probably PR that's, in Spanish and English, and then distributed or showcased in areas where you know that it will be noticed by that population.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. No, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Any others? You said you had 4.
Yeah. All right. So it seemed to me, at least not, it wasn't maybe obvious to me. Maybe I just overlooked it. From the forms and / applications, how much arts organizations and artists can reasonably ask for in their grants?
They can ask for whatever they want.
Okay.
But we will, after the budget is approved by City Council, we'll know how much money we're dealing with. And then all we can tell them is how much there is in the pot to distribute. And of course, that will be dependent upon how many applicants we have.
Yeah.
We try, unless it's a grant that's just not appropriate at all, we try to award everybody something. And I would say it's sometimes you look at grants and you think, wow, this is so fantastic, I think they should have asked for a little more. They don't. They're too conservative, or they think, ooh, if we ask for more, then they're likely not to give us a grant or whatever. And that really has nothing to do with it. They should ask for what they feel is reasonably necessary to accomplish what they want to accomplish with their grant.
Okay.
Okay? And if they're not fully funded, but we want to partially fund them, which is usually the case. It's a kind of a rare situation where they'll get 100% of what they want. They need to explain to us how they will make up the difference, how they will make sure that grant happens
Okay.
without having full funding.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and then the other point I can email you, and then it's nitty gritty, not. This is very specific, and then I can bring up the next point when I talk about the website.
Okay, perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay. Okay. All right, then I think that'll wrap that up. And as I said, we'll have a chance to revisit all of this again. The next topic is arts education and Commissioner West. So there was a really intriguing concept brought up, and I just wondered if you had any more thoughts or have worked through anything on
Yes.
what an artist in residence program would look like.
Yes, the education committee met this month, and we discussed it. And one of the issues that came to fore was that to have an artist in residence, you have to have a residence. So we thought that we would seek out other communities, other 501s, other charities or educational institutions that have artist in residency programs. And Eric was going to talk to. I don't know that you have yet.
A little bit, yes.
Okay, good. Well, I'll call on you in a second to try to find best practices for how it might work in a city the size of Ojai with a budget like we have. With one idea being maybe partnering in some way with an educational institution, especially one that has student residence or faculty residence on campus, that type of thing. So, yeah, tell us what, Eric, please.
Sure. So yeah, there's just so much that we could do, and I'm really excited about this committee. And I started researching other arts commissions in other cities on what they're kind of doing with their artist residency programs. And I looked into St. Paul, Austin, Texas, and Moab, Utah, and what they're doing. And I found that they're doing things I hadn't even thought of, which were really exciting to me. And I'll just outline some points. So the St. Paul has this thing called the City Artist Program. And it's not so much an artist residency program, and more so an artist having that capacity to go into different commissions within the city and be a part of their meetings and learn what issues the city is dealing with and come up with creative projects in order to speak to those issues or help those issues in some way within the community. Creating really incredible community engagement projects, which some are just installations that are short-term and some of them are long-term public things that stay on display for a long time. And so there's some really great ideas, like someone created a poetry engraved on their sidewalks, and there are a bunch of kind of like poems along sidewalk, and it's kind of like an outdoor public library, and created engagement with poetry and enthusiasm for the writing community within their city. There was the vacant lots that was turned into a gathering space and also a life science project and educational space, which was very interesting. And I think the capacity for this is really incredible because it's educational, and so you get an artist to really understand the city's issues. And there's the Moab, Utah, they have a kind of a more environmental city artist resident who reuses recycled products in order to create artworks, which speaks to different environmental issues in the area. They have to use 75% of their art supplies have to be recycled, and they have a artist talk at the end. They have an open studio day they have to do. They also have what was it called? So there has to be like a community fulfillment aspect, and they also had access to different committees within the city to talk about certain issues within city government and the public. City of Austin had a really similar thing where they only specifically worked with the watershed protection department, and then one artist created a pop-up exhibition of photographs and text and 2D art that conveyed the department's importance to the community. So I think there's a plethora of ways that this thing could be unfolded if we decide to go through with it. It all seems really cool. I think these artist residency spaces didn't necessarily have like a place to be in residence. It was kind of like not sure it's the most accurate word, but they all kind of use residency.
Could you repeat that? I didn't quite hear.
Sure. So they, it's not so much that they had a residence, and more so that they were kind of like, had their own workspace. And two of these artist residency programs, they had a art workspace actually within City Hall, like within like city government. I'm not sure if there's that capacity in here. But some also had their workshops or artist spaces just within a building nearby. So in case we don't have that capacity, I imagine there are a lot of organizations who'd be willing to, or at least some organizations who'd be willing to partner. And I can think of two, but I don't want to put the cart before the horse. Yeah, that's basically what I have for arts education. Sorry. I just
That's
talked-
fantastic.
Mhm.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gets the brain thinking.
If I may,
Yes.
if I may. Artist residencies, I think, are terrific. I know of two here in Ojai. One is the Carolyn Glasso Bailey Foundation. It's a 501c3. They're on South Montgomery. They have had an artist residency program for at least the past few years. Taft Gardens, another 501c3, recently instituted its artist residency, and the first artist in residence has completed her time there. There may be others as well in our town, but certainly a number of arts entities are getting up and going with these residencies. So I agree that it's a very important thing.
Well, maybe Eric, I'll ask you to look at some of those, and maybe, and Robin, we'll get you up to speed on this too. Maybe we can look at some of the ones we have right here in town. I know the Thatcher Schools had artists in residence, and I imagine the other boarding schools has as well.
Well,
We
and I would just point out that Eric was instrumental in starting the one at Taft Gardens, if I'm not mistaken.
And I'll help you with that one if you need help.
Yeah, I believe I don't know, I don't want to take credit. I think I might have been the one who proposed actually the artist residency and in large part put it into fruition. And I really love doing it. So I would be happy to be a part of this program. And also in New York when I was living there as well. So I'd really make sure from what I've learned in creating an artist residency is that it's through the different counseling I've had, it's really important to make sure that all the rules are laid out very, very clearly, and that we also give them the right amount of room to flourish, but with enough of like a border around it so they understand where their limits are. And I don't mean like limits, but like it helps them create their artwork and know what the structure of it all is. And it can go on for like 5 pages, but it's like really important.
Yeah.
So I'd love to help with that as well.
Well, I would imagine the city will have their own particular restrictions as well.
Yeah.
Great. This is so exciting.
We had a brief talk about art scholarship, which we think the Education Committee would also do just a discussion about what that might look like. So in the next budget cycle, we may be putting something in more form to
Great.
formally ask
Right.
for something that would may take place at a school or something where we have faculty and we can get more bang for the buck to start out here in the community. Do you want to go on to TV?
No, I want to wrap this up.
Okay.
Maybe you can let us know what we as a commission can do for you right now, or it's not ripe yet for our next steps and moving forward.
Right, I think I'll just ask my committee to continue to look for some
Okay.
best practices stuff here, and we'll report later.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, now you can talk about Channel 10.
Yeah, well, this is not necessarily educational. I don't know where it goes. I just was.
The education.
I just developed the pilot, and so it's now running. There's a weekly schedule that James is establishing. I would like to ask the PR committee to come up with a plan to promote it. There's a YouTube link that has the full tour. It's had like 80 views. I stuck it on my Facebook page, and but we could do a lot better. We need to think about how to do that. It's running on Channel 10 Live about once a day, but he doesn't know the schedule until each week because of the different lengths of the various commission meetings. We can't have just this set schedule
Right,
that it
right.
runs at the top of all.
Right.
So the PR committee, I think, will maybe I welcome suggestions. I'm
Checking
trying
in.
to share it at the risk of one being self-promoting because I'm like the star of it, but also it was a pilot, really, and if it's going to be used in the future for other things that we do, we have to have a plan around that, and I'm not sure who owns that.
Didn't you sign away all of your rights?
Now, for instance, I've heard from other commissions in the city now that we're excited about that pilot, and they want to do something, and
Well, they'll have to pay
but
you.
how are they going to do it? And someone else had suggested local artists could submit their own videos, and I can see that it's going to take some curating, but there's also
That
a
would
good
be
idea.
that would be tricky because we
Yeah.
cannot favor
Mm-hmm.
one particular artist over another artist. If that particular artist was a grant recipient and they wanted to televise, they wanted to create a video about their project, that's totally, I would think that's educational.
so.
And
I
that
think so, but it would still
promotes
need-
the grants program and.
Someone has to curate that and monitor that, though, too,
Right,
because there are
right.
legalities involved with, it is a government channel, it's not a
Right.
public access
Right.
channel. And so, one, we have control over it, and two, it needs to be about the government, the city government,
Well, it's a program. The grants program is a program of the city.
Right. And our tour was an Arts Commission developed
Right.
thing, but
That's-
when you start reaching out in the community to
No,
artists
yeah,
that
you
have their
can't
own
do- right.
businesses, it becomes
Right.
a little
No,
tricky.
exactly.
Simply getting, so I just,
May
That's it.
I ask a clarification question? To Scott, Smitty? You said that you posted it on Facebook, did I hear you correctly?
on my Facebook personal page.
On your, do we still have the Arts Ojai page on Facebook?
Yes.
But it's not there.
We don't have access to it.
We're having a little,
We're having a
from
little
what I've
technical
seen,
difficulty.
establishing who is the administrator of that.
Okay.
Today, I sent a message
will
to the
go up- but it
administrator,
will
so
go
it's going to
up
go to
there?
somebody.
Because.
Well, I hope so. I would think
Yeah.
that would
Okay.
be,
And in the past, when something was posted on that Facebook page, we all, the commissioners, would get a notice so that we could post it on our
Share
pages.
that,
So
yes.
that really got it out there.
and
'cause there
that's,
were
it's
7 of
best
us
that it
get-
comes from
yeah.
a central place. Right now, it's on
Okay.
my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. There's probably a more bureaucratic way of doing that.
And thank you again for doing what you did. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I got inquiries, why wasn't this one there? Why wasn't this one there? Why wasn't this
do you-
public art piece? I said, well, that's not the downtown tour, that's the East City tour, or that's along the way. And so I think the
We'll get there.
community is anxious for more.
Do you remember how long it is?
It's 18 minutes.
18 minutes, because I really want to say that I really think that this should be shown at a city council meeting. It's really unbelievable and interesting, and will hold everyone's attention and teach the public something about our city that they don't know.
Well,
Just saying.
my thanks for the script, because I just read what was
Well,
there.
You made it come alive. I mean, you've got those aerial shots, and you've got music, and I mean, it's just so fabulous. So,
That's it, Chair Toshira.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. So keep doing what you're doing. You too.
Oh, thank you.
But you're up now,
All right.
Eric, to talk about the website. And we need one vote on this item, and that's whether or not if we want to resurrect, I don't even know if it's still on there, the artist registry, where any artist or musician can add their names to a registry that we post on our website. It's very labor intensive. We'd have to go through existing names, contact them, see if they want to remain in the registry. We have to put the word out that the registry has reopened, and if you'd like to be included, please contact Eric? Somebody. So I think this will require a vote because it is so labor intensive, and we should talk about how important it is to the city and to us and to the individual artists and everything, musicians, et cetera, to have this feature, have this available. on our website.
Marcy, for background again, because I'm new, what is this registry?
It's
What
a
is
list,
its
contact
purpose?
information.
No, I understand that,
Yeah.
but how did it come about? What is its purpose? How has it been used?
I can't answer that, I wasn't
Why
around
was it
then. Yeah.
discontinued?
Maybe
Because-
Christine?
Yeah, I can answer that. I'm the old person here. I can't remember the exact year that we initiated a website. And Linda Harmon was the commissioner who took charge of the website. And part of the website was an artist registry. And how that list of artists was generated, Linda Harmon would know. I'm not 100% sure, but it was quite extensive. It was multiple pages of artists. And I'm pretty sure that there was some kind of mailing, and I have to really go back in time to remember this, some kind of mailing that went out to artists asking, do you want to be on the list? And if so, give us your current information, so it was updated. So Linda, I don't know if she ever got it mounted on the website or not, but it was in the works, as I recall.
And what
And
was
then
its
it kind of
purpose?
fell apart when the website fell apart. It underwent so many different hands. And the platform itself, I understand it was awkward to use, the one that was being used. And there were all, good reasons why it sort of disintegrated into what it is
Collage from her
currently.
husband's funeral
What
still
was its
covers the kitchen
purpose, or
table.
what was its
in Michelle
intended
Price-
purpose, even if it had not been achieved?
Well, by having, I believe, and again, I'm just giving you my recollection from probably 2007, 2008, that's quite a while ago, that it was a mailing list for us, so that if we were going to mount a public art project, we would use that as a mailing list for projects. I know I'm pretty sure that was one of the key purposes. I don't know if there were other purposes in addition to that.
Thank you.
Because that wouldn't be a public use of it. That would not be a public use of that list. Like this is.
I don't think it was a public, I think it was for our use.
Because it's a good question, because you wonder, what is an artist and where does it extend to, and what are purpose? Are we promoting the artists in the valley? I think maybe that needs to be looked at, because that'll
that's a great
affect
question.
the way we design the
think we-
list and
yeah,
how
exactly.
how it's kept up to date. Because I just happen to have had some experience, with the Rotary Club. We did a performing arts forum at Nordhoff about 15 years ago, and we went throughout the valley to scour and get the names of every teacher, musician, recording studio, dance studios to try to build something like that. So and the purpose was so parents would have a resource to because of the dearth of the performing arts in the schools, but the tremendous amount of resources there was in the valley to help the youth. So sort of that was the purpose, and so for that it needs to be maintained, at least monthly, and the phone numbers or emails have to be accurate, and you have to solicit it, from those people. So I'm not quite sure what this is. So I would like to see that before we do a whole lot of work, and it's done at the one point in time, and then it gets stale again for no
It
purpose.
is a lot of work.
Yeah.
I know that, keeping it updated. It's a tremendous amount of work.
Well, it seems to me that if it doesn't have a purpose we can articulate, and really, this valley is so filled with talent that those lists would go on for pages and pages. I frankly can't see the purpose of it. So if your question, Marcy, is whether we should eliminate it, I would like to so move. If we can't identify its purpose, let's not revive it.
Well, maybe we can ask for a sort of statement of purpose at the next meeting.
So does she make a
Not to-
motion?
Not to
She
hijack.
moved to eliminate the registry. I would, does anyone want to second that?
Oh, was that actually, okay, if that's, if that's
You made a motion,
If that's a
yeah.
motion, then I'll put it in for the form of a motion. But Smitty, I think you were saying that.
Yeah, I won't second it, but I might, I don't know how Roberts, you are
But I
going to
think
be here.
your question is a different question, and that is you want to know what the
I was going
purpose is.
to
Explore
ask the committee working this to come to our next meeting with a sort of a stated purpose of what a registry is designed, and maybe not the how to do it yet, but just why, whether that is a worthwhile thing for us to consider.
Right.
And just putting to your head on that, I
Right.
think will answer this question.
Right,
Whether
exactly.
we
So
should
do you want to
do it.
And I
withdraw?
withdraw my motion.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
absolutely.
And then, Smitty, you move, what's your motion then?
Oh, is there, I move that.
Make the motion.
I'm sorry, which committee is this?
This is actually Eric's purview.
I move that we command Commissioner Lopez to, at the next meeting, give us a little report on what the purpose of
We
it
need a
is.
motion for that.
Maybe with a little,
From you.
We do.
both a look at what we did before and what the best practices would be forward and what the purpose
It's
is.
just the
Well,
direction.
I feel like because I was thinking about the website a lot this month, I've thought of some reasons as to why we might want it. Also realizing the giant scope of it, and also thinking maybe I don't want to do this. There's so much to put on my plate, or anyone's plate. And also thinking, well, anyways, I started thinking about the fact that it could be a really great resource for gallerists and curators to know all about all the different talents in the Ojai area. And I also was thinking it would be a good resource for patrons of the art to be able to know about all the different artists in the area so that they can commission their own artworks for these different artists. And I think it's a good resource to have for people maybe new to town or people just wanting to get more involved in the arts, to be able to see every place where they might be able to get involved that they didn't know about until they looked at the registry.
Sure. Well,
So that's
well,
all
I
can
might,
think of.
I might add to your task list, though, is look at it with the artist in mind. Like, if there's, let's say, just picture this prominent artist in the town, and we go to him and say, "Well, you would like to be on our registry?" And that artist would say, "What is that all about?"
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Or no, then. I know, there has to be a case for both the artist and the community. I
Well,
think.
Smitty, may I make a comment? Well, we all know that OSA is really the largest group of artists, and they do a lot of publicity for their individual artists, but not all the artists in the Ojai Valley are members of OSA. So it would be a way for them to be recognized as a working artist in Ojai without being a member of OSA. So that's what I would think of as a reason why an artist would want to be included in a registry. But getting back to so are you seconding, did you second Smitty's motion?
Yeah, I guess I'll write down some sort of report as to what way we could do this registry. I'm not really totally for or against the registry, but I do want to bring up the point that I think that the benefits of a registry could be made through other means.
Okay.
So I think that there are faster, smarter ways to do what a registry does without having to constantly update something that's so vast.
Okay, so I think what we'll decide.
And
It's more of a
Eric,
no, actually.
and Eric, in the course of that, I'd also like you to think about whether that's an appropriate role for this commission to identify, quote, who is an artist.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, a lot of information and thinking
Yeah.
that you can bring back.
That'd be
So
better.
we're voting on,
You might want to contact Susan Amend, who was chair of the commission at the time that the registry was started. She was very pro,
She might have more
in favor
information.
of the registry.
Right.
So you might want to contact Susan Amend and get a little clarification from her on what the thought process, I'm sorry, I'm not clear in remembering that, but I was new at that time when I was appointed.
And Eric, with technology now and social media, there may be a platform that is run by the artist, like you join yourself, and We don't have to do a
I
thing.
do know it served as a mailing list for us, and I do think there are some applications where it would be really handy for us to have a mailing list that wasn't just OSA, because that's a little problematic if we're only, advertising through that organization, because there's so many more artists that aren't members. So I think Susan might be a big help.
All right.
Yeah,
I
and
guess-
Barbara Hirsch, too.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And Chair Tasha, if I may, just for clarity, Commissioner St. James Lopez just wanted to clarify that you had second Commissioner West's motion.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, so with that, we'll go
Great.
ahead and do,
Okay, so all we will be doing then is just giving a green light for Eric to dig a little deeper, think about this, do some research, and come back to us. We can make the decision as to, A, if we want a registry, and B, what does it look like, what's its purpose, what are the parameters, and all of that. So this is just authorizing Eric, giving him the blessing to,
And maybe amend that to include, what do we do with the one we have now? Because it is live.
So I guess in regards to this report that I'm creating, I think I just want some clarity on me just doing I'm doing research, I'm reporting on what I found, and does this mean me coming to a conclusion, or me just presenting
No.
all the facts for everyone and then we decide?
just the facts, baby.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Great.
so with that, since we have a motion and a second, we'll just do a quick roll call. Chair Tasher?
Roll call, please.
Yeah, Chair Tasher?
Oh, yes.
Commissioner Golden? Commissioner Golden?
I'm sorry, I'm out of it. What's going on?
We're doing a roll call for Commissioner West's motion.
What did he say?
Commissioner West's motion to authorize Eric to do all the background research. and
Well,
think-
I don't understand why that's a motion. Well, yes, that's,
Yeah.
why is that a motion?
It was a motion that was presented on the floor. I don't, I
Okay,
think.
all
that-
right, yes,
Okay.
sorry.
I would agree with Christine, and actually
Never
doesn't
taken
require a
motions for
motion.
someone to go and do their committee work. It's
Correct, yes.
Well, we have on the agenda, we had to
Well, that was to see if it was included.
decide, which means vote, right?
Whatever.
If a registry should be included and revised with continued maintenance. We obviously can't decide that now because we need more information. So I figured, well, that was going to be a motion, so why
Yeah.
can't this be a motion? I don't know.
I agree with Christine. I don't think it's a motion. The committee is going about
Right,
its business.
right.
I withdraw my motion.
Not a motion.
No harm, no foul. Do your thing.
Motion withdrawn.
Okay.
Do it, Eric.
Smitty, do you want to talk about the piano?
Just a quickie, not much is done, although I do want to encourage, I did speak to several potential sponsors. So if you recall the last meeting, I said one of the actual piano and where it is, we'll get that at the right time. But from our discussions with the other cities, we found that what really made the program successful and sustainable was having a sponsor, and that is usually a business sponsor in the community that is willing to, either out of pocket or just out of their labor, open the piano and close the piano and keep their eyes on the piano. And that may be someone, sometimes that takes two businesses, because, for instance, in Coronado, they opened them, I think, at 8 in the morning and closed them at 9 at night, something like that. The pianos themselves would be locked. They would probably become art, wrapped with some type of artwork, which we can, discuss after we find this. But I just would encourage members of the commission or the community that that know someone or are interested in a business person in the downtown area that would be willing and or able to be a sponsor for the piano.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Okay, next topic is the Pledge of Allegiance. Before we begin, I believe, Luis, you have
Yes, I have
information about the pledge?
I do. And so I recently learned, in reference to the pledge, that any commissioner who wishes not to recite the pledge is not obligated to go ahead and do so. So, yeah, anyone who preferred not to say it, they don't have to go ahead and say it.
That's how we've been doing it for quite a while now.
Correct.
Christine?
Well, since I'm on the agenda, that makes sense to me. So when I first joined, I was frankly startled to see that there was a Pledge of Allegiance, which was explained to me as mandatory, which surprised me quite a bit, and thank you for that update. It's obviously not mandatory. I mean, the Supreme Court told the nation back in the 40s that a Pledge of Allegiance is not compulsory, is not required. So thank you for that update. The answer then is that the Pledge of Allegiance is optional.
That
Yes,
is correct.
that's-
And any commissioner who wishes not to recite is not obligated to do so.
That's what I had explained to you. I'd explained that to you, yeah.
I had been told it was mandatory, so I'm glad we had this full airing.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. All right, so the next item is the August meeting. Historically, we go on vacation. The Arts Commission goes on vacation in August, so we do need to take a vote on not holding an August meeting.
So move.
Second,
What do you mean the Arts Commission goes on vacation?
we're on hiatus for August.
We go to the Bahamas.
Right.
And
What are we?
if I may to add to that, Chair Tosher, the Arts Commission traditionally takes a summer recess in lieu of the Arts Grant Workshop that is held in August. So the commission does not hold its regular meeting in August.
I see.
So
Thank
that's,
you.
yeah. Mhm.
So, but I moved, but there wasn't a second.
I second it.
Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and do a roll call. Commissioner Steiner,
Yes.
Commissioner West,
Yes.
Chair Tosher,
Yes.
Commissioner Golden,
Yes.
Commissioner St. James Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gerber,
Yes.
and Commissioner Chisholm.
He's already on vacation.
So I believe that is a yes. I see his screen frozen with a thumbs up.
Or was that from the beginning? Can you hear us?
So
Thumbs up.
with the motion passes.
That's cool.
Great, perfect. Okay, the next item is, I will entertain topics for future agenda items.
I had one and I'm forgetting.
Same old, same old.
Does anyone remember? I feel like.
Oh, we'll let you think about it. It'll pop into your head.
Dang it, I like wrote all these notes, but it's.
Chair Tosher, if someone can't think of something now, they can always email you, can't they? And
Is that okay?
By a
It
certain
won't be
date,
on the
as long as
record,
it's on-
whatever? Sure.
Absolutely.
in time?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That's
I mean, I know we
absolutely
used to always do that.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
So you can email before, what would be the deadline for having the agenda ready to note the items?
fine. I'd recommend it a week and a half before the
Yeah,
actual
for the
meeting.
meeting.
Okay, I remembered.
Remembers.
Sorry.
Knew he would.
All right, so I've created like 11 pages of like edits for the website. So I have this Google Doc, and it's highlighted, and I've shown it to the Public Relations Committee, and so that's there. And so I'm wondering about, there's some things in there. A lot of them are just very small things, like their example, one part of the website, it says this, I don't know, this program was starting in the 2000s, and I was like, okay, I want to know which years, 2000s, small things like that. And then there's some greater topics of conversation about the website, which I think that shouldn't just be pertained to just the Public Relations Committee to decide. So I'm just, I guess, I don't know what to do with this document necessarily, because I don't know if I should hand it out to everyone. Do I email it? I don't know what to do.
Sure. One of the things that you could go ahead and do is you could email it to me, and I can go ahead and send it out to the commission blank copied.
Okay, great.
And we can set aside on the agenda comments about that.
Exactly.
Everyone's had a chance to review, and then we'll give you our feedback.
Great. All right.
Thank you. Okay. All right, then. Yeah, email me if you think of something. Okay, Luis, you have a
Sure.
liaison report for us.
Thank you. So there's really not much to share in reference to either the public art projects or the public art fund. One of the things I will go ahead and note about the public art fund, I did take the recommendations from the last meeting and moved the $80,000 from the debit pending just to the notes column, because again, that was just simply something that was noted, and it's not fully set in stone, that amount. So that has been moved over. So as you could see on your spreadsheet there, the fund balance currently is $121,197 with 83 cents. Now that does include the credits pending of $26,166, and that's going to be for the olive mill project there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would, excuse me, can I speak? The notes were, had quite a few typos. I asked Louise, I think that maybe those notes should just be a reflection of the actual motion that was done. So it just states the motion to, whatever it said, conceptually agree to this. That'd be my suggestion.
That
Louise.
makes sense to me as well. I found it confusing. In fact, when we discussed it last meeting, I understood that it would be a note on the side related to this conceptual idea that this amount is committed, assuming this goes forward, rather than its own separate block.
Sure, I mean, that's something that would be fairly easy to go ahead and do, and I can go ahead and do that.
I think
So
that would
if-
make it clearer.
Louise, could you repeat, please? I can't understand what Christine's saying with her mask on, and it's pretty important.
Sure. So what the request is to go ahead and remove the line item and just go ahead and put it as a note.
No, line item was voted on to be there. That cannot be removed. We voted to put that $80,000 there. You just can't do away with it.
Sure, and I think
We're not
that,
doing away
We'd
with
have
it.
to
We're
revisit that
noting
and
what was
vote. But that would
actually
take
voted
someone who
on.
voted for it, and it would have to happen within 2 minutes of the original vote, according to the rules that are used. So that stays there. And it's no longer being deducted. You have done a beautiful job of putting a side note, which is what everyone agreed to last time, that it wouldn't be deducted. It would just indicate that it's been set aside, but not deducted at this point, which is exactly what you did, exactly what you were asked to do. So as public art chair of that committee, I'm saying that this has to stay the way it is.
I would
just
disagree
be
with that,
changed.
Christine, and I don't know that the chair has the authority to say how this looks, but I think it is misleading, and that's the point. Now, I don't know if we need to put this on the agenda to discuss next time, but to repeat, the actual wording of the motion was that this was conceptually agreed to. Conceptually does not mean that it was allocated. We don't even know, again, whether this is going to happen. So
I think that's
this is
exactly what
very
Luis has done. He's
think
done
this is-
exactly
please don't
what
interrupt.
you guys asked
Excuse
for
me.
last time, which was not to deduct it from the total, as though it was already
Excuse me,
spent.
Madam
But to
Chair.
make a side note. That's what he did. Do you have it in front of you, Robin?
Sorry, I'm not there, but it's hard to have the floor if someone's talking.
What did you
We
want to say, Robin?
Conceptually agreed to this. Can you hear me?
You're breaking up.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We conceptually agreed to this. Putting it into the budget as a line item is simply misleading to the public. I don't think that this is such a big deal. Many budgets, you see a note at the bottom of the budget. That is all we're talking about here. And it certainly shouldn't be listed as an allocation. It is not an allocation.
It's not
So
listed
I
as
think
an
as a
allocation.
commission, we want
It
to
was
be.
taken off as an allocation.
It's
Luis
not in
did
any-
exactly what he was asked to do.
It's
He
not
took it
in
off as
it-
an allocation, which was my preference, was to have it as an allocation. But I acquiesced to this because I didn't think it made any difference to put it as a side and not to subtract it from the total. Exactly what you asked for is what we did.
Yeah, it's not in the debit
Eliminate it
pending
altogether
column.
is not appropriate
If you
because it was
scroll
voted.
down,
We voted on it.
Madam Chair,
Majority.
if I may.
Yes, I want to make one comment first. This is not in the debit pending column. It's not in a column.
That's true, too.
It's just a note. It's just not in the form of a footnote. It's just it's a note on the side of the chart. So I think we're splitting hairs here, and I think it's very clear from the language that's in the side note. On 3/25/21, the commission conceptually agreed of the idea that it would take a minimum of $80,000 to use for a public art project within the climate park. We agreed to that conceptual agreement. We conceptually agreed to that. And it is not listed as a pending debit, which it would be, and it's not deducted. So I think it's pretty clear. And is there anyone on the commission that doesn't understand what we intend to do?
I am one, and I was going to address that point specifically. I do think it's misleading. Again, last meeting, when we discussed it, I understood that it was going to be a side note. Whether it's a side note or an asterisk, I don't particularly care.
is a side note.
But to include it as what appears to be a line item is, as Robin said, it's misleading to the public. And that's really all we need to think about here, is how it appears, what it means, and why it's there. And this appears misleading, and it is conceptually an idea. It is not even a motion, it's an idea. And to give it what
not
is
true.
frankly the largest real estate in the entire budget puts too fine a point on it, and as Robin said, it's misleading.
Okay, Christine,
I would like,
excuse me, may I address?
No,
Because
no,
it
no,
was
hold
a
on.
motion, and it was a motion, and it passed by majority. And normally, when we make a motion for a project, it's shown in a separate sheet bar, which I developed with James Vega and then with Luis, to show when we had an allocation that that money was subtracted out from the total, so it wouldn't be spent on anything else. We voted on that before you were a member, Commissioner Steiner. It was a vote, it was a motion. You and Commissioner Gerber asked that instead of having it on the allocation sheet, that it could be listed with an explanation and not subtracted out. That is exactly what Luis did. He did exactly that. It is not unclear, and this is not for the public to see. This is a sheet that the Public Art Committee uses to know the money that's available for public art projects. It's exceptionally clear, and is exactly what we said we would do last time.
Yeah.
It is what's the point of having it changed? There is no point.
understand the-
Other than virtually undoing a vote of the commission, which you cannot do that.
I would like to
Am I,
ask.
Christine, if I
excuse
believe
me?
I believe I was
Excuse
still
me?
speaking before Christine interrupted
Well,
me.
she's through, and now I'm going to speak, Christine.
I'm simply
I'm
reminded-
taking the floor. I'm the chair. I'm taking the floor.
Fine, I defer to you.
Councilman Haney, are you looking at the chart we're talking about?
Yes, I am.
And what is your understanding of that item that is relating to the $80,000, and it's off to the side? It's the far right column. It's shaded. It's a shaded column on the far right of the chart.
So as a, I'm sorry that I got drug into this, but
Well, it was.
I'm just gonna,
yeah.
just make a simple statement. First of all, you're discussing something that, as far as I'm concerned, shouldn't be discussed. It's not on the table as a discussion item. So what I would do is, I would recommend that if there's a misunderstanding or a disagreement, and the chair states that, then the chair can re-agendize it, and you bring it back and you
Okay.
discuss it, or someone make a motion and get a second,
Okay.
and bring it back as an agendized
Okay.
item, so that you can revet this. That's
Okay.
how I would do it.
Thank you. I appreciate all of your years of experience. That's exactly what we'll do. Someone would like to make a motion to,
I'll make a motion to re-agendize this, to discuss how it is presented in a way that's perfectly clear to the public.
okay? Second?
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and do a roll call. Commissioner West? Yes. Commissioner Steiner?
Yes.
Commissioner Golden?
No.
Commissioner St. James Lopez?
Was done.
I honestly have to say I don't understand the intricacies of this whole debate. And I feel a little bit uncomfortable deciding on something I don't understand very well. And I have been
abstain.
listening, and I still am a little, I don't know.
You could abstain. You
Can
could
I abstain?
You can.
Okay.
Chair Tosher?
No.
Commissioner Gerber?
Yes.
And Commissioner Chisholm?
Lost in space.
I abstained because I couldn't motion.
Did you say abstain?
What? I didn't hear that.
He abstained.
He abstained?
Okay, so motion failed.
Yeah,
The motion fails.
okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioner comments.
Let's go on.
Well, can I just, excuse me?
Abstain because I can't hear.
All right, who has a
Madam
comment?
Chair,
Yes?
Madam Chair, further down in Louise's report, there is an allocation listed for this same item.
There is an allocation listed for what?
For this same item, under project allocations. And that's what I was trying to make the point about, that it's both
Project.
listed in a confusing way on the budget, whether you believe it or not, and it's also listed under project allocations, environmental art project. It is not a project allocation.
Okay. I do see what you're speaking about,
Page 4.
Commissioner Gerber. Yeah, that's going to be page 4 for the Public Art Fund. I think that one of the things that we could go ahead and do, again, if the commission wishes, is we can go ahead and leave that note here on the Public Art Fund report and then eliminate it under the allocations. So ultimately, it still stays there. It shows that the commission voted.
Could you give us some direction what page it is that we're being referred to?
Sure.
Of 4.
Sure, that's going to be page 4 for the Public Art report. Or Public Art Fund report, excuse me.
Oh,
Oh, so you didn't remove that?
Yeah, so I didn't
Okay,
remove that.
you can
So-
remove that.
Yeah,
I don't
that's-
care if you have
yeah,
that there.
that could be removed.
Yeah.
see, that's all we were talking about.
Okay.
Yes, that was, those boxes were to help me. So if I don't have that box, it's okay. I know what it is.
Okay, absolutely. That will be removed for the next meeting.
Let's just all remember that these are public documents that everyone looks at. Thank you, Louise, for your work.
Well, we could have resolved this right at the top of the discussion, but you focused us on this other chart.
Well, that's also misleading.
Have any commissioner comments? Anyone? Bueller? Smitty?
No comment.
Okay.
My comment is simply that this is my first in-person meeting, and I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I believe, Randy, you have an opportunity to address the Arts Commission.
Hello, commissioners.
I did. I'm not going around, I'm just asking people to volunteer if they, I didn't go around the room, I'm just asking if anyone has a comment to state their comment. Well, yeah, because I didn't think you had a comment. You didn't say anything.
I'm sorry, I do.
Please.
Okay. I'm sorry, it's hard to hear with the masks on. Yeah, I just want everyone to know that I received a invitation from Sylvia Raz, and I'm going to send it around the room. It was sent to me, but it's for everybody, so if you're interested, you can copy the date down, and I'm just going to send this around the room. It's an art exhibition. The Sylvia Winstein Virtual Arts and Crafts exhibit for 2021. So I'll just send that around the room. And I also want to note that Bill Miley has put in front of everybody a book as a little gift to the Arts Commission, and this is called The Santa Barbara, An Uncommonplace American Town. And so we want to thank Bill Miley for writing us all a wonderful letter and giving us a copy of this wonderful book. No, that's my comments.
Thank you.
And Chair Tosher, if I may, Commissioner Gerber, Commissioner Chisholm, you guys have a book as well, so I'll go ahead and get those books over to you.
Excellent.
Thank you. Now, Randy, if you'd like to address us.
Well, first of all, welcome back to the chambers. And Christine, because I haven't met you, welcome to you especially. And Evan, yes? Eric, I'm sorry.
Actually, with this.
There you go. No.
Not okay.
But welcome to you too. And Schmitty, we've seen you forever, so welcome too. It's my first meeting as the liaison and my last meeting, because we'll shift after the July recess. But it's always great to watch commissions work, and we haven't been a commissioned body like this in a long time. So we've kind of forgot how and the who's and the what's and the methodologies and the procedures, and if you're new, it's a whole new world, Christine, but you'll get used to it quickly. You're working with one of the cherished groups here next to Historic Preservation, next to Recreation and Parks. These groups have the largest members. They have a tendency to create the most committees, which in turn generates a lot of good for the community. And so I'll say it now, thank you for your services, and the council values you and respects you and wishes nothing but the best for each of the commissions. So I'll start out with that. I did make a couple notes because you'll just learn. One of them was how many times you say So you try and not to say I do, I count them personally. I even count my own. So I said hello to Christine Steiner, and I said to Eric and to Schmitty. And Robin, I know we can't see you, and I know you'll be here soon. And Nigel, good to hear your voice, and I look forward to you being back here on the dais also. So having said that, that's a good thing. If you're bringing telephones, iPads, or things of that nature to the dais, you shouldn't. Because what they do is they take away from what you're trying to achieve with one another, and that's eye contact, looking, listening, and learning from each other. You can't do that while you're doing something else. Private and public, regarding one of the comments that we were looking at on mixing. I lost my place here. Yeah, that doesn't matter then. Okay. Last thing is, when we run into a conflict or we run into a problem, most of the time it's because we've either expressed ourselves not poorly, but we just haven't done a good form of communicating. And that's kind of what happened on that last item was, I think Robin's points were well taken. I think there was confusion, and I saw it in a lot of the questions and the interaction. And I thank you for the way you resolved it, because you did get it done. But in the future, something like that should just be re-agendized and then brought back in a formal setting. And that way you can move on versus creating tension. And trust me, in our Zoom meetings with council, there's a lot of tension, and we all do it, we all don't like it, and we all deal with it. But just from my perspective, that's all I would say is, again, that listening and learning from one another, I think it's important, and it's important that we have as much eye contact. That's why Robin and Nigel, I really hope you guys can come back here as soon as you feel comfortable, and yeah, I think you'll find out you'll have a better commission meeting. Okay, thank you, and that was a record time.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you so much. And, well, actually, do you have a report for us?
No other report?
Yeah, oh, you're right, adjourn. I'm going to adjourn. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
I know. It's missing in action, the gavel.
Okay.
Mhm.